Hello there, welcome back. In this video I'm going to talk about focus on the Mavic Pro. The reason being is there's been a bit of hoo-ha and a bit of confusion around how it works, partly because DJI have changed it once, so they've changed its behaviour depending on what Go app you're using. So what I wanted to do is do a video that explains the whole situation, basically. First of all, if there's any background noise, it is the sound of my Mavic itself. This thing sounds a bit like a Hoover when it's turned on and it's not in flight because the fans are running, so don't worry, but I do apologise for that. So, to get started, the focus on the Mavic has a couple of versions of it, and it's actually dependent on what version of DJI Go you are using. When the Mavic was first released, we were still on DJI Go version 3, which is that one there. After the release of the Phantom 4 Professional and the Inspire, DJI forked the Go app off into version 4, leaving version 3 still available. The reason being is all of the newer products, they're going to run off Go 4. A lot of the other products are going to run off Go version 3. Now, the Mavic, for instance, and the Phantom 4, for instance, will work off either version of the app. However, DJI is recommending you use version 4 from this point forward. Version 4 is specifically as well for the Phantom 4 Professional and the Inspire 2. The version 3 will not support those devices, whereas the Phantom 3, the M600, the A3, all of those professional products, and the Osmo, for instance, is still using Go version 3. So we'll start with the original Go app because that's where the focus started. The Mavic doesn't have a fixed focus lens like on the earlier DJI aircraft like the Phantom 3 and the Phantom 4. It has a basically focus off a digital smartphone. Same as you've got on your iPhone. It has a focusing lens, so it's a very similar sensor. However, it uses a voice coil motor to move a focus element to allow you to focus the camera on whatever you want. Now, with this came some positives and some drawbacks. The drawbacks were people were having real trouble getting the focus to work properly originally, really because they didn't know about it. Once people got on top of it, it wasn't so bad. So to focus on the Mavic, on how it came out originally and how it is on the version 3 app, you have what we call tap to focus. So you pick a point that you want to focus on, you tap that point on the screen and it focuses on that point. I'm just going to put these here a minute just so it gives it something to focus on. So if I tap on that point there, it will focus on that, and that's it. It will not change from that point forward. If you then clicked the little green box up here, it gives us the exposure controller, the metering point, and if I go back to that focus, you just tap the focus and it locks. So that's how the focus was. If you wanted to adjust the focus, you would just tap again and it would focus again, but that wouldn't change in flight unless you actually tap the screen. A couple of the complaints with this was people were accidentally tapping the screen in flight whilst trying to do something else. So one of the recommendations was always, if you do it, switch over to that, then switch over to that. And that means then you've locked the auto exposure, so you can't change the exposure, but you're also not refocusing. So turn off that, and then you've got the focus option back. So to prevent you locking, prevent you accidentally hitting it, to lock it, drop it over to the exposure, probably center exposure, and then AF lock, and that means then you can't accidentally refocus or change the exposure. Now, that was all fine. However, DJI tweaked this feature when we moved over to DJI Go 4, and actually specifically the last version of DJI Go 4. The first version of the Go 4 app actually still had tap to focus. However, the current release, DJI made a few changes in the way the focusing works and introduced what they basically, easiest way to describe it, is an automatic focus. DJI introduced a new way of focusing. You still have the tap to focus, so you tap on that point and it will refocus. However, they introduced a periodic automatic refocusing. So whenever you're in flight, whenever the aircraft comes to a stop, it will automatically refocus to the center. So if I just pick the aircraft up, I'm not going to touch the screen, move it around, put it back down, it will now automatically refocus after a couple of seconds to the center of the screen. There we go. As you can see, by itself, we gave it no input at all. So if I pick it up, move it around again, let's put it there. There we go. Now, this is quite an undesirable effect. It would actually be really good if it was just on stills, because you would take a picture, it would then refocus, and you could start again. However, on video, this is very, very undesirable, because you're filming, you move the aircraft around, you come to a stop, and next minute it refocuses and destroys the footage for you. Now, DJI haven't introduced an off button for this. However, there is a workaround. The first is you need to turn on manual focusing. So you go into the settings, go down to the dots at the bottom and turn on enable manual focusing. Here we go. What you now get is an AF/MF option come up here, where we used to have the little square box. We still have the tap to focus option, and currently, because it's selected on AF, if I move the aircraft, it will automatically refocus back to the center again in a second or two if we give it. I may not have actually moved it enough. No, probably not. So let's do it this way. See if it does it. There we go. So it automatically does it. The way to get around this is pick the object you want to focus on. So you can either focus to the center like that automatically, or click on that object there and it will focus. Click to MF over to manual focus. So now that focus point you set, it was locked to. When you switch to manual focus, it doesn't just switch to a random position, it switches to whatever the position was last, so it locks it in that position. So now, no matter what I do, it will not automatically refocus when the aircraft comes to a stop. Now, you can adjust the focus manually with the slide bar on the side, as we can see. But if you want to use the tap to focus option, you go back to AF, tap on the section you want in focus, flick over to manual focus. Obviously, if you click the little square back over to that, that gives you your exposure metering point. The only difference is there is no way currently to lock that slider, so you cannot stop that slider moving. So although this is a bit of a workaround, you can't actually stop that slider moving up and down. So that's the workaround if you want to lock the focus on the current version of DJI Go 4. Alternatively, if you want to use the tap to focus option without this automatic, you can still use the last version of DJI Go version 3. So there is an option for that. With regards to focusing itself, quickly, last couple of things on that. To focus to infinity, so to focus to get it so everything in view is pretty much in focus, pick a high contrast object and click on the focus on an object about 30 to 50 meters out. That should give you pretty much as close as you can get to an infinity focus. So about 30 to 50 meters out. Obviously, if you're trying to focus on an item a bit closer, click on that and again let it focus. So if I focus on that there specifically, switch over to manual, and then that's locked. No matter what I do with the aircraft, it's locked, but you have got to be careful if you tap on the screen. If you tap on that, if you tap here, it doesn't change nothing, but if you hit the slider, it will affect the focus. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. There's some links in the bottom if you'd like to support me, and I'll do another video again soon.